teen girl asked to leave prom after dads couldn't handle her dress. Claire Ettinger and her boyfriend James Thompson were thrilled to be attending their first high school prom together. The prom theme was Twilight in Paris, and it promised to be a memorable night. However, 17-year-old Claire had no idea that her night would end early, all because of chaperones and dads who were scandalized by her cocktail dress. Before we begin, make sure to smash that like button, subscribe to our channel, and click the notification bell for more amazing videos. Even homeschooled children go to the prom. A group of homeschooled teenagers who do activities together attended a prom affiliated with a local church. Claire Ettinger was extremely excited to have the opportunity to go to prom. As a tall, curvy girl, she always idolized Marilyn Monroe. When she started looking for the perfect prom dress, Claire wanted something sparkly and gorgeous. But there was one more thing that was important to her. Claire wanted to be sure she complied with the event's dress code. Organizers required young women to wear dresses that were long enough to correspond to their fingertips. As long as the dress was below the fingertip line, it was within the rules. At least that's what the organizers said until Claire and James showed up at the prom. The prom was held at the Methodist Church. Claire and her date arrived dressed to the nines. Claire had blonde hair, lipstick, and sparkly silver dress. James and Claire were ready to dance the night away. However, the adults had other ideas. As soon as Claire arrived, she attracted unwanted attention from the adults. A chaperone named Ann Duncan immediately told Claire that her dress was too short. Patiently, Claire showed that her dress was longer than her fingertips, so she'd not broken any rules. She politely told Duncan that the dress only looked different than what other girls were wearing because she was tall and curvy. Many of Claire's classmates were wearing dresses that were even shorter. However, they looked different to Duncan and the adults because they were smaller and more petite. Duncan told her, "Well, make sure it stays pulled down. It's too short." With that, Claire and James hoped their problems were behind them. They hadn't even made it to the ballroom. Once they entered the ballroom, Claire remembered laughing because I was surrounded by girls in much shorter dresses than me, albeit they were shorter and therefore stood out less in the crowd, but it was still frustrating. The other thing that stood out to the teens was the sheer volume of adults in the room. I felt violated by the sheer number of male parents that were assigned to do nothing for 5 hours other than to watch girls in short dresses and heels dance to upbeat music. That's when Claire and her friends noticed a group of fathers standing on a balcony looking down at all the young women. What's worse was that they were frowning and pointing at Claire. Then one of the organizers found Claire and ordered her to go to the side of the church. It was Duncan again, but this time she was accompanied by another chaperone. She took me into the corner of the hallway with another woman who I'm assuming was a parent chaperone. She told me that some of the dads who were chaperoning had complained that my dancing was too provocative and that I was going to cause the young men at the prom to think impure thoughts. Claire quickly rebutted these assertions. She'd yet to even dance, so there couldn't have been any provocative dancing going on. She also explained that she had adhered to the dress code. I never signed any documentation agreeing to adhere to any sort of dress code, and the dress code that was verbally communicated to me was followed to by the letter. When confronted with facts, Duncan and the chaperone ordered Claire to leave. She and her friends had been there less than 30 minutes. James claimed to Claire's defense. "That's fine, she wasn't doing anything wrong, but if you're kicking her out, then the group that she came with is leaving too, and you'll need to refund all of our tickets," he said. Duncan refused to entertain the idea of a refund to anyone except Claire, and even that was dubious. "I will not debate with you about this," she yelled, forcing Claire and her friends to the exit. On her way out, Claire asked a security guard if her dress was too short. He said he didn't think it was, but the decision wasn't his to make. After prom, Claire decided to speak out about what happened to her. "I have long legs and I was wearing a sparkly dress. I didn't look like most of the 13 to 15-year-old girls there. I looked like a woman. As I'm so tired of people who abuse their power to make women feel violated and ashamed. I was told the way I dressed and moved my body was causing men to think inappropriately about me, implying that it's my responsibility to control other people's thoughts and drives." As the furor spread online, the chaperones claimed they weren't looking at her, but Claire and her friends knew what they saw. Duncan continued to claim that the fabric of Claire's dress somehow made it ride up a few centimeters, and therefore it broke the rule. "The dress was right below her butt cheeks by the time I saw her," Duncan said. "Imagine having a chaperone examining every inch of your body." Duncan claimed the fathers couldn't have been watching Claire since there were 500 students in the room, but that ignores the fact that when the lady kicked me out, they said dads had complained about my dancing, and that meant they had to have been watching me. Claire wrote about her experience online, did interviews, and made a vlog telling women and girls that there's nothing shameful about their bodies. This is a message to girls built like me who can't find jeans that fit, the girls with long legs who are forced to prove that their dresses fit the dress code just because they have more legs showing than most girls. This is a message to the women who understand that sometimes it doesn't matter how much you pin a dress, you're still going to have some cleavage show when you bend over. Enough with the slut shaming. I'm not responsible for some perverted 45-year-old dad lusting after me because I have a sparkly dress on. And if you think I am, then maybe you're part of the problem. Claire's story went viral. Some people pointed out that James was black, and it was possible the chaperones and fathers didn't like that they were an interracial couple. Many people were outraged by the way Claire was treated, but when they started peppering the organizers' Facebook with comments, Claire called them off. She didn't want the people who organized the prom to feel harassed. Nevertheless, the organizers still preferred to shut down their Facebook group rather than defend their actions, face criticism, and engage with their critics. In the meantime, the organizers never refunded Claire's money. Claire heard from hundreds of women who supported her and could relate to her story. They felt empowered by the way Claire handled herself. Claire is hoping that her story will start a discussion about dress codes and the shaming of women's bodies at other school events.